Okay, let's
Hey,
see.
good afternoon. My name is Luis. I'm a TokenMetrics customer. My question is, I've been holding 1 inch for the past, I'll say, 6 to 8 months, and I haven't seen it make any move, even though it's one of the most used platforms out there, decentralized exchanges. At what point? I would love to get your opinion, your input on it. I mean, is it the printing coins or the airdrop? What is it? Because either this is a huge sleepy giant that people haven't realized it, or something's wrong with the project because the use case and the value, I guess, is not being matched or correlated. Or it's either the project's dead or it's a huge sleepy giant for me. So I would love to get your input on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so basically, what do we think about 1 inch token, and why is it not moving? So I'm very very bullish on 1 inch. It's the main DEX I personally use to trade, and also use that for yield farming. I own tokens. I would say for me, it's about 5% of my portfolio. So I'm taking more of a long-term approach, because if you compare 1 inch right now in market cap, it has a market cap of basically $500 million. So there are other projects as well, other DEXs. The space is getting very, very competitive, right? We have Curve, which is also about $500 million. We have SushiSwap, Uniswap. But to me, what makes me very, very, I would say, bullish or optimistic, let's just look at the traffic here on 1 inch, right? If we go through in the last 1 month, now these numbers are projections, but they had 2.79 million visits last month. And actually, for comparison, let's compare this to Uniswap. If we go to, just give me 1 second, uniswap.org. And Uniswap right now is the most widely used DEX in all of crypto. And their traffic is, last time I checked, I think about 9 million. Yeah, 9.3 million. Now, if we go back here and compare with all these other DEXs, SushiSwap. So right now we're just checking out based purely on what exchanges people are using the most. So my guess for Sushi is probably somewhere between 2 and 9. But recently, SushiSwap did surpass Uniswap in terms of, I guess this is too new. But for me, long term, I would say 1 inch I think it's definitely worth having in my portfolio. That's why I have it. I'm not too concerned about the price, because I think sometimes the good projects do take a long time. For example, Matic took a long time to really rally, but once it rallied, once there was a fundamental shift, I think that really will change things, because 1inch is really integrating into Binance Smart Chain as well. And I think eventually they'll also start integrating into other protocols. And I think having that and having a DEX aggregator that has smart order routing that lets you trade across different exchanges, that's kind of the holy grail. And that's something I think 1inch has a chance of achieving. Bill, what do you think about 1inch from a TA perspective?
Okay, so many people think that a bull market is just like a nonstop party, right? I won't go through the whole humorous story, but people think that they can open a crypto account on Monday and be at a Lambo dealer on Friday. And the way it actually works is some of the best trades, they frustrate you to the point where you're like, I'm so tired of this, I'm going to get out, right? There was a lot of that going on with Polkadot at 8. It's now 4x'd, right? Mike Novogratz and Galaxy Digital, basically, one of the smartest hedge funds, if not the smartest hedge fund out there, along with Multicoin in Austin, have invested in 1inch. I think when the legacy people, or when I talk to people in legacy, I tell them to download 1inch. It looks better. And the fact that Novogratz is behind it gives me a sense that, it's going to be a high integrity platform. So be careful in bull markets about getting frustrated out of trades that you've researched and are good. In other words, if the project is no good or it goes down and you get stopped out, that's one thing. But giving up on positions is a recipe for insanity, because eventually in this bull market, everything moons. And if you give up, let me rephrase it this way. Pain is temporary. Quitting lasts forever. So if you believe in it, don't quit. Because if you miss it and you say to yourself, oh my God, I owned it at 3 and it went to 100. In other words, don't talk yourself out of a trade, because this is one of the things that bull markets do to shake people out. They shake you out with boredom. So
all right, well said, Bill.
That.
And here, pulling up DeFi pools for DEXs, there's definitely been a flight of capital, right? So right now, in terms of DEXs, 1inch has about 100 million locked up, which is pretty low. It's down about over 6% in the last 1 day, versus SushiSwap, which now surpassed Uniswap in terms of more capital locked, which is very, very interesting, because Sushi is basically a open source clone, and for them to now become the not most used DEX, but to have the most capital locked up, I think goes to show the value add of having yield farming, because Uniswap has no yield farming, but Sushi does. And I think the issue recently in the last few weeks to maybe 1 month, I would say in the last 2 to 4 weeks, 1inch, their pools have ended, right? Because if you go in here and go to their DAO and go to farming, they only have 2 pools right now, right? OPM and VSP. All the other yield farming farms have basically ended and closed. So I think that's also played a factor. But I think, to me, that's just something that's short-term for now. I'm pretty sure they'll be adding other projects that will be helpful. But that's kind of my take on that. First, any comments on your end?
Yeah, so this is going to seem like a little bit of a strange analogy, but I think 1inch is the best way to be long on AMMs as a whole, as a sector, almost as an index fund, without having to pick any specific one. So instead of having to go all in on Uniswap V2, well, what if Uniswap crashes and SushiSwap becomes the big, the big winner? Well, because 1inch is an AMM DEX aggregator, you can be bullish on the entire space by holding 1inch, which, by the way, as Ian mentioned, if I'm looking to trade Ethereum for DAI stablecoin, it's going to look through Bancor, it's going to look through Uniswap, it's going to look at Balancer, it's going to look at SushiSwap, it's going to look at Kyber, it's going to look at all these different DEXs and give you the best price. So whichever one has the best price or the best order match, obviously it's going to pick that one. In this case, I'm looking at an Ethereum DAI trade, it's picking Bancor. So that actual trade is going to benefit Bancor. But this 1inch is a fantastic way from an investment standpoint to just be bullish on the entire DEX space as a whole without having to subject yourself to the risk of going all in on Uniswap or all in on Balancer. And at the moment, as mentioned by Ian, it's got a pretty low market cap when you compare it to these other DEXs, right? It's $577 million market cap. Uniswap is actually the number one, the number one AMM DEX, but it's in the number 8 cryptocurrency overall. So I almost look at 1inch as like a DEX index fund, even though it's technically not. I kind of view it at the same in the same lens as I would an index fund, because it's giving me less risk, in my opinion, than going all in on a specific AMM.
All right. Thank you, Forrest.
TokenMetrics is a cryptocurrency investment platform that helps users leverage machine learning to become better crypto investors. Our in-depth analysis helps eliminate the emotions of investing, find profitable investment opportunities, and filters out scams. Learn more at TokenMetrics.com.